What's your biggest regret from your teenage years? So determined to impress my classmates that I would stretch the truth so I could brag about myself. Now I realize most of them saw through it. If I could only go back, I would slap some duct tape across younger me's mouth. I wish that I had taken mom up on her offer to teach me how to cook during those teenage years. It would have been so helpful, both during college and beyond. It was a missed opportunity because she's a great cook and a natural teacher. All the responsible people on this thread wanted to be more irresponsible and all the irresponsible people wanted to be more responsible. Cowardice. I was so unsure of myself and awkward. I know that all teenagers struggle with this, but as I look back now from my 40s, that kid in high school had so much going for him, he just didn't know it. The more he cared about fitting in, the less he fit in, and the worse people treated him. Girls were like an alien species and the future was terrifying. But it didn't have to be. I can totally relate. I'm barely out of my teenage years, but I specifically really regret that I turned down romantic relationships. I was such a coward about it. I cared more about how people would perceive me dating someone than actually dating that person, if that makes sense. I wish I hadn't cared about what people thought and just given those relationships a chance. I spent so much time waiting for something to happen. Like sitting on some steps outside of a house waiting for something to happen. Hanging out with people I did not really like waiting for something to happen. I feel like so much time was wasted waiting for something to happen, instead of doing something or making things happen. I wore a fedora to prom, and prior to prom I had asked someone out and took the rejection really badly, said a lot of stupid shit on social media and acted out when asked about it. Also, back when it was a thing to add random people on FB, I used to post all sorts of corny, white knight one-liners. Cliche, but I lost a lot of friends due to excessive online gaming. I kept refusing to go out with them and socializing in general. Plus when college hit I didn't know how to talk to people and how to make friends. Ongoing process. I wish I had taken more risks. I worried about getting in trouble too much. I missed out on some fun because of that, and tried to play catch up when I was 19, which led to me going a bit too hard through my 20s. I'm okay now, successful and doing well. But there's lots of things I did in my 20s that I might not have done had I got it out of my system in my teens. I'm just lucky things turned out okay for me. 31 now. When I was 14 I poured ketchup on our back porch and lay down with my head next to it right as my mom came home from work. She came outside screaming and I laughed. She beat me with her shoe and I was grounded for the weekend. Now that I'm a parent I realize what a real dick effing move it was and the terror she felt. I used to hide from my mom when we were shopping. Especially in clothing stores where I could hide in the clothing racks. Apparently I just thought it was so funny to watch her freak out looking for me. I also look back and think I was a real dick. Popping my first pimple, to the point that I can't stop. Breaking up with the nicest guy halfway through final year of school. I regret breaking up with him in general, but also it ruined what should have been an epic time of our life. Since we had all our friends in common it just sucked. Lots of awkward behavior at parties, drunken yelling, crying. And that's just what he was doing, never mind me. Being the secret side piece for the popular guy in high school. I was an outcast and didn't have a lot of friends. He was the star football player and everyone wanted to be him. He was in my algebra class. He asked for my number on a note. I was super naive. He only ever wanted sex. We would either meet up somewhere at night or he'd come to my house when my mother wasn't home. We would quickly do it and then he'd quickly leave. And then he would pretend he didn't know me at school. Worst decision ever. Not being more selective about the friends I made. I thought I was a real loser, which I was, but largely because I had that idea in my head to begin with, and I felt I really couldn't be too picky. As a result, I was sort picking from a social slush pile of people who would use me, were generally emotionally unstable, or were too wounded to really be a good friend. It turns out, making social connections is work. You can't just be interesting, you have to show people you are, and they want you to show you are interested in them as well. And flaunting how kind and giving you are is a bit pathetic because being kind and generous is a minimum requirement for a friend. I thought I was being shunned, but mostly people were just busy with their own lives and friends and barely knew I existed.